Here. Now, what can you say about a high school that produces Thelonious Monk, Nobel laureates, Axelrod, and Holden, right? It's obviously a special kind of high school. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, and it's a pleasure to join with all of you here today and to be part of the tea speaker series. When does the tea get served? Here under the assumption I'm another broken promise here. It's also an opportunity for me to have a chance to speak with so many dedicated public servants. I'd particularly like to recognize Elizabeth for her leadership of the Office of Presidential Correspondence, and I want to take this opportunity to thank each of you, especially the interns and volunteers who are here with us this afternoon, for sharing your time and talents with this administration and with the American people who we are all really so privileged to serve. Now, I know that your work is rarely glamorous, and I know that it is never easy. And I'm sure there are times, especially when the phone calls and the emails are piling up, when you can lose sight of really what the enormous contributions are that you make. But I also want you to understand that your service does not go unnoticed. The work of this administration is greatly enriched by the work that you do, and that every one of us, from Elizabeth and each of the staffers in this room, to my counterparts in thought, the President's Cabinet, and of course to my good friend who works in the Oval Office and who rooted for the right team yesterday. We all appreciate the enthusiasm and the energy that you bring to your work. Like every day, the assistance you provide allows the White House to operate at peak performance, to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of critical activities and programs, and to fulfill its core responsibilities in maintaining an open and constructive dialogue with the American people. Now, especially through the 10 letters, and this is something I think that's really important, the 10 letters that you send to the President's desk each night, which allow him to connect to the American people in a very personal and important way. You help to break through the partisan distractions, the political games, and the palace intrigue that too often fuel the perception that Washington is isolated in some way from the rest of the country. You help to lift ordinary voices and perspectives above that fray, and you ensure that the citizens from across the country can make themselves heard in the halls of power. Now, make no mistake, this work is essential, and I really mean that. Understand it. This work is essential, and it would simply not be possible without you, whether you're a staffer, a volunteer, or an intern. For those of you who are just beginning your careers in public service in the coming weeks, I'm sure that all of you will learn a great deal, not only about the White House, but also about your own interests and your abilities. I have no doubt that you will make some important contributions, bringing new ideas, and lending a fresh perspective to the work that this office is charged with completing. And I hope and I expect that your time here in Washington will be a transformative experience. I'll never forget the law school summer that I spent interning at the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. I remember feeling in awe of the opportunity that I was given at that time, a chance not only to serve one of our nation's really most influential civil rights organizations, but also to have the opportunity to serve the cause of justice. That internship brought me here to our nation's capital for the very first time, and it inspired me to apply for a job. My first job was a lawyer with the United States Department of Justice. Now, like all of you, I was, in addition to all those other wonderful things that were said about me, one thing that was left out was I was lucky. I, too, arrived in Washington during a challenging and really supremely interesting time in our nation's history. It was right after Watergate. Or not after the Lincoln administration. But it was a time of really transformative changes in Washington, D.C., a time that most of you are too young to remember, but those of you with just a little bit of gray hair will no doubt join me in recalling how tumultuous those times were and how different Washington became after the Watergate time. But no matter how old you are, I hope that you will take advantage of the many learning experiences that you're going to have made available to you. Find out as much as you can about the way in which this administration truly works. Explore every opportunity that's available to you. Get to know your coworkers. Ask questions, and not just the small ones. like how to get your hands on those M&Ms that are decorated with the presidential seal, but get them up. There are also some really good coasters in the situation. They're actually so good they start to number them on the bottom. They show, one doesn't, they say, well, that was in front of the Attorney General, so where'd that one go? I got two before they started to number them. This is not getting taped, right? Get them. But ask the big questions as well, in addition to the little ones. Why did you choose public service? Ask people that. What's your definition of justice? Why is the work that you do so meaningful to you? As you seek out these answers, don't hesitate to share your own ideas at the same time. And be sure to take time to reflect on and to discuss what you're learning about the President, about the people you serve, and about the workings of our government. For me, I hope for everyone who's gathered here today, serving this administration has been and continues to be really the great honor of my life. I count it as a tremendous privilege to lead our nation's Department of Justice and to work alongside so many dedicated public servants in protecting the American people from terrorism and other threats to our national security, from violent crime, from financial fraud, and from threats to the most vulnerable among us. And I'm deeply grateful to know that the President is not only a principled leader and an excellent attorney in his own right, but he's a good friend. There are so many ways for each of us to really make a difference. And I think that's something else that you should remember. And while you contribute to this work, which is our work, I ask you to serve with integrity. I urge you to stay involved, and I wish you the same thrilling experience that I had when I first joined the Justice Department after law school. What I learned there more than 30 years ago really shaped who I am. It reinforced my commitment to public service, and it introduced me to people who have changed and who have enriched my life in countless ways. Those passionate and engaged citizens, I'm confident that your time here as volunteers and as interns will provide similar lessons and opportunities. So I want to thank you once again for your service and for your committed partnership in the work of this administration. I wish you nothing but the best. And I'm one of many who will be counting on the excellent work that you do. At this point, I would be more than glad to answer any questions that you might have. And I've been led to understand this is not taped. There's a little press here, so I'll leave